Nostalgia is a wonderful emotion. It encompasses what we discovered and came to love when we were kids, the stories and experiences that helped us learn who we are. Most gamers became gamers when they were young, and the games you grew up with have an indelible impact on how you appreciate this art form. But nostalgia, especially childhood nostalgia, can also diminish critique. I think it's important, as an adult, to take another look at the things that you used to love, and not just speak from the perspective of what you thought when you were 6. Now, despite that, you're still gonna have a biased perspective. I can see the shortcomings in these things that I've always loved. I can explain them and admit them and accept them, but I'm still biased. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with being biased, as long as you can be upfront about it. We're all fans of different things for different reasons, and that's okay. But Metroid was never something I considered myself a fan of, which is weird because I just always felt like I should have been. But I've tried and tried over the years to get into this series, and even though they're fun enough while I'm playing them, I've never been able to stick to them. It's like there's nothing that keeps me coming back. There was one exception where a Metroid game did get its hooks in me, but that was a long time ago, and I couldn't get invested in anything else. And I think I know why. It's kind of a dumb reason. The series' core gameplay doesn't fall in line with the skill curve that made me a gamer. Longtime viewers might remember that Sonic 2 taught me that a video game becomes more fun the more skilled you as a player become. Metroid games, from what I've played, rely more on the fun of exploration, and I know some people love that, but it's never been very engaging to me. Your avatar grows powerful through upgrades, which you find by putting time into exploring an interconnected world. But most of my favorite games tend to rely less on avatar strength and more on the player's skill mastery. Games that take that more arcadey approach are just more inherently gripping for me. And don't get me wrong, I think this industry can and should be a lot more than just games of skill, and many of my favorite titles don't follow this pattern. But it is, I think, why I could never stick with Metroid. Until lately. Lately, apropos of nothing, I've been engaging with some of the most highly regarded games in the series. All of a sudden, I do feel myself, perhaps, starting to want to dig into this series and learn more about it. All of a sudden, I might just end up being a fan after all. And whether I am or not, it might be fun to critique the experience. When it comes to Metroid, there is no nostalgia for me. But that means that each game I'm playing here has the chance to rise or fall on its own merits. Because nostalgia or not, when I do like something, I love it. I want to learn and absorb and know everything I can about it. That's part of what it means to be a geek, right? Let's see if it's worth it to be a geek about Metroid. In the far-off year of 2000, representatives from across the galaxy established the Galactic Federation, bringing about an age of prosperity as thousands of spaceships ferried materials between planets. But crime always finds a way, and space pirates began ransacking the ships with their showy powers. The Federation police called in specialized warriors to do battle with the pirates, and paid them large rewards for successful captures, enabling courageous souls to make a living as space bounty hunters. It is now 20XT5, and space pirates have attacked a deep space research ship and seized a capsule containing a newly discovered life form from planet SR-388. It's suspected that the entire civilization of SR-388 was destroyed by, quote, some unknown person or thing, and that the new life form may have been responsible. The Federation researchers captured it, named it Metroid for some reason, and were bringing it back to Earth when it was stolen by the space pirates. If Metroid is multiplied and weaponized, the galactic civilization will be destroyed. The Federation has found the pirate headquarters, planet Zebes, but have been unable to break past their fortifications. As a last resort, the Federation police have decided to send a lone bounty hunter to infiltrate the fortress and destroy Mother Brain, Samus Aran. He is the greatest of all the space hunters. His entire body has been surgically strengthened with robotics, giving him superpowers. Even the space pirates fear his space suit, which can absorb any enemy's power? Well, that would have been a rockin' idea, but nope, that's not in this game. Regardless, Zebes is a natural fortress. Its interior is a complicated maze, and the pirates have planted booby traps throughout. Those ain't the only booby traps in this game. Samus has penetrated Zebes, but time is running out. Will he be able to save the Metroid and thus save the galaxy? I've played a little bit of this game before, but I never knew the story and lore went that deep, even here at the start of the series. The manual is a bit of an excessively literal translation, like it refers to the morph ball as the Maru Mori, which allows Samus to grow small and round, but it's still way above average for the era. And I love the way it obfuscates Samus's gender. The manual exclusively refers to her with male pronouns. Female protagonists in games are hard to come by even 30 years later, but in 1986, in a sci-fi game about a character in an armored power suit, forget about it. This was unprecedented, and it was one of many things that made Metroid unique. A tradition in the series started here. The faster you beat the game, the more that power suit comes off. Beating it in 3 to 5 hours gets you this ending, but come on, it was the 80s. That could totally be a dude. Pfft, long hair on a man, how outdated. Everyone knows it now, but Generation NES always talks about how surprised they were to find out that Samus was a girl. I can see why. It really is the kind of thing that your friend at school might tell you and you'd swear they were just making it up. Here's the map of Zepus! The manual screams and then gives you this thing. That's not a map. It explicitly states you'll have more luck if you just make a map of your own, and yeah, that's 80s adventure games for you. God, I miss instruction manuals. This one's 42 pages in full color, there's tons of illustrations, and it does so much to explain and prepare the player for what's to come. It brings me back to those car rides home from the mall when I'd just gotten a new video game, and I was so anxious to play it that I'd open the box and pore over the manual. Oh, just reading through it gets me hyped to experience this game, but nothing will get you hyped quite like this. NES games were known for their bright aesthetics, and so once again bucking the trend, Metroid's developers chose to go the other direction, emphasizing a darker, moodier palette. Donkey Kong Country would similarly stand out with atmosphere and ambience a generation later, but here in 8-bit, the use of blacks and muted colors is striking. The music is just as critical in setting the mood. The song starts out by evoking a feeling of trepidation and uncertainty. Then it breaks into more of a tune, which evokes the sort of bittersweet valor it takes to push forward, when every tiny step forward seems so arduous and monumental, when you're persevering against all hope. It finally hits an understated but very heroic crescendo. This theme is just a perfect capstone for the series. Oh, and because these things are awesome, I'll be playing the Japan-exclusive Famicom Disk System version of Metroid, which features nicer music, a save system that's almost literally Zelda, some more complex enemy behavior, and less slowdown. We explored the backstory, we looked at the aesthetic, it's finally time to get critiquing. One of the most wonderful things about video games is the way that sequels can iteratively improve on the foundation. So in that light, I'm going to try not to dock this game based on what comes later. This is the first Metroid, and I'm trying to approach it that way. Nonetheless, the first thing I notice is that Samus starts out feeling incredibly weak. Your only weapon is this little pea shooter, which you can fire directly above or straight forward. No diagonals, no crouch shooting. And that's not me comparing it, no, you'll notice this immediately. Right from the first room, you'll find these enemies that are exactly too short to be hit. You also start out with only 30 health, even though you can collect energy to raise that to 99. I can't think of another game that intentionally starts you so far below max health. Even if you do grind up your hit points, getting hit by anything packs such a wallop that it often seems like the better option to just avoid enemies rather than trying to engage them. All of this is by design. Later games start out with Samus feeling fairly capable right from the start, and the 3D ones even give you some of your strongest abilities in the prologue to give the player a taste of how powerful Samus will be. Metroid 1 goes the opposite direction. Right from the start, you as a player feel like you're deep in enemy territory, completely outmatched, and completely lost. I'm serious, here's how my first session went. I got the Morph Ball, climbed up this long shaft, went down a dangerous hallway that led to a locked door, backtracked to another, even more dangerous hallway that led to another locked door, bounced some missiles, took an elevator, hit more powerful enemies, headed back the way I came, used all 5 missiles to open a door, made my pea shooter into a longer range pea shooter, went to the other locked door, discovered I'd never picked up more missiles, grinded until I got them, discovered this room, got stuck in a little nook, and had no choice but to commit suicide. Yeah. Metroid's freaking brutal. There's no in-game map, there's no indication of where I'm supposed to go, it's so frustrating and convoluted and it's kind of fun. I don't quite get why the space pirates would fear Samus so much the way she starts out, but the fact is she's infiltrating the homeworld of the most elite, dangerous group of pirates in the galaxy. And despite what I said earlier about Metroid being about your avatar growing stronger, the game here is doing an excellent job of making me as a player feel very alone and helpless. I can appreciate the complete lack of hand-holding. I was allowed to proceed onward to challenges I'd have no chance of overcoming, just because they were there. The whole point of this opening sequence is to train the player not to blindly push ahead. Doing that gets you nowhere. The game gives you the missiles, then punishes you if you don't go back the way you came and use that upgrade to explore more areas. If I wasn't aware of at least some of Metroid's conventions regarding how missiles unlock doors, I can only imagine how lost I'd be. Okay, so according to the manual, those are statues that are representative of the mini-bosses, and I'll need to take them down to build a bridge in that room. That's why all I could do in there was die. Alright, back to it. All that work the game did making me feel like the odds were stacked against me paid off when I reached this. Just something as simple as collecting that first health upgrade was such a relief, and it's what kept me exploring Brinstar. I'm surprised at the quick sense of progression you get through here. Only about 20 minutes of adventuring and I had the Morph Ball bombs, the Ice Beam, and 2 energy tanks. I had also managed to keep a hold on my sense of direction. These rooms all look pretty samey, and I did cover the same ground more than I probably needed to, but as long as I stuck to the corridors, I always had at least a relative sense of where I was. But that doesn't hold true for the many vertical shafts, and this is where it's easy to get lost. All in all, though, it hasn't been as perplexing as I thought it'd be. It's actually pretty endearing when things get a little weird. Like, after I got the Ice Beam, I figured I was supposed to use it to climb up this series of rippers by freezing them, but I was having trouble finding them again. So I headed down this corridor, got a missile upgrade, came to what looked like a dead end, but I noticed I could shoot up the ceiling and hop up there. This led to another energy tank, and then I emerged at the top of the very chasm I was looking for. Was I supposed to be able to do that? Am I supposed to get stuck behind the Chozo statues? Am I supposed to escape here by getting stuck in the ground? Are Zoomers supposed to do that when they don't have a block to stand on? I don't know, and I love the fact that I don't know. Little moments like this are all over the place, and I just keep thinking, like, was I supposed to get the Varia suit like this? Was that an exploit? Or was it a little of both? I keep coming across things and feeling like I'm kind of outsmarting the game or breaking it in a way that I'm not supposed to. And again, I think that's all part of the design, because in universe, Samus is supposed to be doing the same thing. On the other hand, why did it take so freaking long to get missile drops? Why does everything look the same? I'm doing my very best to take this game as a product of its time, but it is a product of its time and it does wear on you after a while. So, enough floundering around. Let's see how deep I can actually get before I hit that wall. There's a criticism that gamers a little younger than me often bring up with a game I consider nearly perfect: Donkey Kong Country 2's save system. Specifically, that you have to pay 2 banana coins at Wrinkly's schoolhouse in order to save your game. Here's the thing, when DKC2 came out, even having a save game was still a bit of a luxury. Needing to grab a few banana coins was no big deal, and I never addressed it in my own video on that game because it never bothered me. But I can see why, if the games you grew up playing weren't so stingy with when and how you got to save, it might be a problem. I never saw it that way because 16-bit was my era. 8-bit was not my era, and I think I'm getting muddled by a similar set of circumstances. I played Melee. I know this song. I know Kraid will be somewhere in the Brinstar depths. But it's more like Brinstar deaths, am I right? Haha! But seriously, even though I have 2 energy tanks now, Samus still respawns with only 30 health. The enemies down here are much, much tougher. They take more hits and hit a lot harder. And remember, this is despite the fact that I picked up the Varia suit early, which boosts Samus's defense. The only thing I can see to do is to head back up to Brinstar, farm for energy, and come back here with full tanks. This isn't challenging. This isn't frustrating. This is just busy work. And there's nothing I hate more than when a game wants me to do busy work. I promised myself that I would stop playing whenever one of these games stopped being fun and became a chore, and in any other instance, this would be that wall. But I also expected a game that would be Nintendo hard. And come on, I haven't even fought the first boss yet. This is just how 8-bit conventions worked. Things that seem unfair to me now would have just been accepted by players in 1986. So... nearly 15 minutes. That's how long it took me to fill up 2 energy tanks, just mindlessly running back and forth and shooting enemies. This is what I'm expected to do every single time I die. Forget about not having a map, forget about a lack of conveyance. The fact that you have to do this to even have a chance to get lost in this world is the biggest problem I have with Metroid. That said, hopefully the worst is over. Well, it didn't take long for all that health to get whittled down by the demons of the Brinstar depths. Mostly because of pure free-range BS like this. Like, come on, what was I even supposed to do about that? And why can enemies attack me as I load into a room? For that matter, why can they damage and even kill me during a screen transition? This is also why I really started having trouble keeping track of my location. Literally, just about every connecting room in this area has the exact same layout, and again, it's not like it's frustrating in that good kind of overcoming the odds style. On the contrary, it just feels cheap and lazy. But eventually, I did make it to what was clearly marked as an endpoint. There's even an easy enemy spawner there that you can exploit to fill up your energy. Mind you, it still takes a few minutes due to how stingy the game is with drops, but still, that's accommodating. Suspiciously accommodating. I wonder why... What?! What? Oh god! Oh no, what do I do? Oh god! Hey, an energy tank. Yes! Gimme, gimme! I can win! I feel great! I can do this! Oh. I think I might be too little to play this game. At this point, I did go ahead and look up a guide. I beat Kraid by spamming Morph Ball bombs at him. Apparently what I should have done was head over to Norfair and get more upgrades before fighting Kraid to have an easier time here, but honestly, I've hit the wall. I could keep going, but I don't see that I'd be having much fun if I did. Especially because I know for a fact that a return trip to this same mission is in the cards. I'm comfortable saying I've seen enough of the original Metroid. Or so I thought. Much later in the production of this season, I found a modification of this game called Metroid Mother. It sadly does not give Samus a striped shirt, but it does update the graphics and give you a mini-map. I only intended to look over it, but I actually ended up playing the entire thing in one go. When you play it like this, what's really stunning is just how short the game really is. Plenty of those repeated rooms are literally just there to pad out the game. When you boil it down, Metroid is a giant maze where you find power-ups, fight 2 underwhelming bosses, and then gain access to a really frustrating one. The very best games in the series would figure out how to gently, almost invisibly, guide the player through these objectives, while never cutting them off from the larger world. Metroid 1 doesn't do that. It doesn't have any sense of order, and it isn't designed for the player. But it does have a sense of progression. Those short enemies really make you appreciate the wave beam in a way no other game has. And by the end, you can become so powerful that it's comparatively a chore to lose, a chore to get to that save screen. You get to feel that spectrum of power, and especially with the map, I have to admit I had a pretty good time. I've compared this game quite a few times to Donkey Kong Country, and I think there's a reason my mind kept going there. Metroid was a game that was ahead of its time in atmosphere and world building. A game more challenging than most others of the era. A game meant for mature players. And I don't mean mature by the ESRB standards. Where games like Mario or Kirby are easy for anyone to pick up and play, Metroid and DKC are a much steeper challenge, but their deeper mechanics, lore, and the sheer breadth of their worlds give that more experienced, more mature gamer a lot of depth to sink their teeth into. It's kind of funny to notice these parallels, considering that 25 years later, such an awful rift would develop between their fan bases. But it also kind of makes sense that both series would end up almost competing for that necessary level of focus and care. But in stark contrast to DKC's characters and community, Metroid 1 has an incredible sense of isolation, loneliness, and even at times hopelessness. All of its systems coalesce to make you, the player, feel overwhelmed and outmatched. Part of that is just a side effect of how clunky and outdated those systems are, but even that seems largely intentional. I can see why players in 1986 would have loved this game. There was nothing else out there quite so esoteric. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean the game holds up 30 years later. Next time, though, I'll be looking at a game I know even less about, Metroid II: Return of Samus. You can watch it right now with a $1 donation on my Patreon. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. You keep geeking, I'll keep critiquing. Thanks for watching.